Before I add a single garland or gift bag to my home, it's time to bring this place back into order. Today, I'm doing a quick seasonal reset, the kind that doesn't take all day but helps me to feel at peace in my home. I'll be walking through my home, restoring order, looking for donations to fill up this box behind me, and creating a little margin before the busyness of Thanksgiving and Christmas arrive. So let's make space for peace, not just presents. I hope you'll join me as I declutter today.
So I'm not sure if I'm the only one who feels this way, but I always feel like during the holiday season, there is just a real creep up in inventory in the house because I have things in my house at that time that I wouldn't usually, whether that's specialty foods or extra decor or gift wrapping supplies or the stash of gifts that I've been purchasing all fall. So I really just am feeling the influx of contents in my house this time of year. And for me, it really helps if I can do a declutter pretty regularly so that I just doesn't get to be too much. And one of the things I find that by doing this, I usually have more trash than I have clutter, to be honest. And I wouldn't think that I was a trashy person, but that's very often what I find is just like loose packaging and stuff that is junky and we can just get rid of it. And then occasionally I find a handful of donations. I do this declutter probably 4 to 6 times a year. Whenever I kind of get the bug and start to feel like my walls are coming in on me, then I go ahead and take care of this declutter. So I am currently in my son's junk drawer, and next I'll move to my junk drawer. But in our family, we each have a junk drawer, and I understand that that's a bit of a luxury to have that many drawers. But I've just chosen to have less kitchen contents so that we can each have a kitchen junk drawer because I find that it really helps to keep counters clean and helps me to stay sane because I'm the one that wants those surfaces clean. And it helps my family to stay sane because they know where they can find their things that I tucked into their junk drawers. So I think that it's really handy. But right now I'm doing my son's, and I just think it's especially a great tool for kids because there's all this like junky stuff that kids have access to all the time. Like seasonally, there's like seasonal stickers and seasonal junk that they get that is supposed to be some kind of toy. And this is just such a great reminder to me, like this stuff can all just be tossed away. And I don't have to hold on to it and I don't have to find it in the playroom this summer. I can just go ahead and get rid of it now. So that's the sort of thing that I'm doing with these junk drawers and that I do on a pretty regular basis. And to be honest, these I think are a really good kind of barometer for like where we're at in terms of the decluttering process. Because when these drawers start to be challenging to close, then that's when I know it's definitely time to do something about this. So I'm going through mine as well. And I will say that since I've started working 5 days a week instead of 4 days a week, I am finding that this drawer is getting a little bit more action on my end. And I've started to really carry my to-do items with me in my purse rather than in this drawer. And that's been great. I'm definitely like getting things done, but I'm just not using this for like actionable things as much. So I won't be surprised if I decide that I need to do away with my own drawer in the new year, just once I kind of get used to a rhythm as far as that goes. But for now, I think I will keep it and keep working with this. But I did find some things that I would say are like not time sensitive, actionable things. Like my son's school pictures were in here. And so I need to give my parents their copy of his school pictures, which are just literally terrible this year. And I guess I'll save it for later. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I always order school pictures. I'm not sure what I think we're going to do with those because they don't really go on any walls in my house. But this is a good system for sure. So I would definitely recommend considering this. And if you feel like, well, I don't have enough drawers for that, well, maybe consider doing some more decluttering so that you can. It might be very worth it as it has been for me. So next, I am just opening every drawer and I see that I need to restock some supplies. So I'm putting my baggies into my containers for those and refilling gallon size bags and everything as well. And that's definitely something that this is a helpful process to just kind of notice what you're out of. You may have seen at the beginning of the video that I refilled my dishwasher tabs. And then you can just kind of check what your stockpile is on all of that sort of thing and refill as needed. But this is a time of year where I definitely want to be able to send like to-go food with people and that kind of thing. So it's nice to have that I'm pulling my spiralizer out because I only use it during the summer and sticking it in this cabinet where I mostly keep seasonal things that I don't use all the time because they're pretty out of reach. And then I'm just looking underneath under the sink cabinet. I have a flashlight that didn't get put away in our first aid bin, so just tucking that away. And that's just the sort of thing that I find is like just lazy clutter of mine that I can just tuck it away. I don't need to donate it, but I do need to do something with it. This bottom drawer of this little desk in our kitchen holds paper goods for when we have our small group over or when we're otherwise using paper goods. I would say that's mostly when we do that. But I just went ahead and went through this to see, is there anything in here that I can go ahead and get rid of? And I did find that there's a few things that I could get rid of. I kept some like baby silverware kind of stuff in here. But really, the kids that are coming to our house, we just don't need that kind of thing for anymore. And so there were definitely things that we could get rid of. And also, I hosted a baby shower in August. And so some of the cups and such that I had gotten for various foods for that, I just don't anticipate needing them again. So I'll go ahead and donate those as well. But just making a stack of these things and kind of corralling everything together so that the next time we have our small group, these things can be easily found and easily put away, whether that's by me or some other part of my family. And as you can see, my cat gets a little bit involved here. So sorry if he's blocking your view. But I like to just mostly keep just simple like white napkins, white plates, that kind of thing. I usually buy one package of kind of seasonal fun plates for the kids just to kind of convince them to eat. So I do have pumpkin plates right now, but those I'm sure will get used up by the next time we meet. And then we can move on to some kind of winter seasonal item for a plate. But this is looking so much better, and I'm so glad that I did it. Now I'm moving on to my living room built-in cabinets, and I have very little in here, but our dog recently had to be put down. She had a lot of tumors in her body, and it was time, unfortunately. So that's a little picture of her on our countertop there. But we did a paw print, and I was just checking to see if it was dry. It's not quite dry, so I'll continue to save that. But they gave us like a coloring book for our son that's about dogs and that kind of thing, and he doesn't really get it, I don't think, so I'm not going to like make it harder. And then in my bathroom, I just noticed that I have like an empty bottle of my curly hairspray, so went ahead and took that out of here. And then also, I recently got a Lange Duo, which is like a straightener and curling iron. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my straightener and curling iron since I now have one item that does both of those things. And that'll be nice to just kind of reduce that a little bit so that I don't have so many things taking up space in this cabinet. And I am really enjoying that product. I think it's a great thing to have. It does a good job of like touching up curly hair and also straightening my hair. So I like it for both reasons. Now, the pantry is definitely an area where I really do feel like there's a lot of influx this time of year. So I love to have one shelf that's just empty for the influx because I feel like this is an area that gets a lot of rotated goods in it. And so I use that empty shelf just for that purpose. So I did get rid of my son's Halloween candy because for the most part, he's really not going to that anymore. And so I think I can go ahead and get rid of that. I always feel like that's kind of a problem that takes care of itself. But I also am making space for these gingerbread house kits that we'll do later. And then just kind of looking through my bins of food and just making sure that I don't have anything in there that's expired. Or if it's like we're not going to eat it or something like that, then I might as well donate it to a food pantry this time of year. I know that kind of thing can definitely be needed. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunity to donate this time of year. So that's definitely something to be mindful of. But just going through these baskets and I'm not like emptying everything out. I'm just laying eyes on everything. And this is a way that I love to tend to my home because I think it's important for us to like be aware of what our inventory is and for us to just be cognizant of the things that we're using or not using. Maybe we're buying too much of. Sometimes when I do this, I find, oh, this would be a good meal idea to use these things up. I don't keep a whole lot of food inventory on hand. I just kind of buy on a weekly basis, but I'll keep a couple of like cans of beans and sauces and that sort of thing on hand, but not a whole lot. So it feels good just to get these shelves kind of in good condition. And I'm just going through my husband's snack basket and finding there's some empty packaging in there. So I'm going to toss that for him. This cabinet is over by our playroom, and it's kind of like my coffee and supplement area, as well as some like entertaining pieces that we don't use real often. So I am just going to go ahead and get rid of like the empty supplement bottle that I have up there. And I thought maybe I would reorder it, but I don't think I'm going to. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that bottle and just kind of tidy things up. That was really all that was needed in here. Below that is our junk drawer, so I am just going through that. And we recently had some fraudulent activity on one of our accounts, so I'm getting rid of our checks and shredding those, and then just looking through here to see is there anything else that needs to go. I would say this is an area that there's not a whole lot of that kind of thing because we do use this in a fairly utilitarian sort of way since we have other drawers to just throw random stuff into. But still, it's always just good to touch everything, and it just helps you to see what you have and what you might need, and go ahead and make some lists if you need to add to what you keep on hand. I'm also checking our coffee and tea drawer and just making sure I have this coupon for these Nespresso pods that I keep in this drawer because this is where I will notice that I'm out of Nespresso pods or getting close to needing to reorder, and just checking to make sure that that is not expired, and it's not, so that's fine. I keep some paper files down here that are like kind of my paper system, and then I also keep long-term files down here, but I'm just looking through these to see is there anything that I need to file immediately because I have a 2-file piece in there, and I really don't have much in that folder, so I'll wait on that until my next round. I usually file a couple of times a year, and that gives me an opportunity to go through our files too and just get rid of some things. But I'm just kind of restoring order to this cabinet. This is always an area that gets a lot of action because it has like some art supplies and that kind of thing for my son, which I'm not getting too detailed with, I wouldn't say, but just kind of wanting to make sure that there's space. Now, the front entry closet definitely works hard this time of year because it has so many more shoes and coats, and I keep about 3 pairs of shoes for myself and like 2 pairs or so for my son, and then he and I each have like 1 jacket. I have a total of 3. I have like a fall jacket, I have a jacket I wear most days, and then I have a jacket that is more of a dressy coat sort of situation. But my husband has 1,000 coats and 1,000 shoes, it feels like. And so this is an area where I definitely need some good storage solutions. And I just want this to be a tidy area because it does work pretty hard for us. It keeps our winter gear, it keeps our socks and shoes and all of that. So up above on the shelf, I keep some bins that have like snow pants and dog leashes and that kind of thing. And so because our dog did pass away, I am going to take that leash and just put it in the basement along with some of the other dog supplies. We anticipate that we will get another dog in the next few months, and so I'll go ahead and save it because I don't know if we're going to need it or if we're going to have like a different size of dog or whatever, but like it's still in good shape, and so we might as well use it for our future dog as well. So that's an area where I will keep it even though I'm not 100% sure of what the outcome will be there. If this spring we still haven't gotten a dog, I could imagine that I would maybe go ahead and get rid of those things and just find them again when it comes time for us to get a dog. But I'm tucking these baskets back up on these shelves now that I've checked to make sure that the winter gear still fits and that the sunscreens that are kept up there are not expired and things like that. And this also helps me to know like we don't need any extra winter gear for our family. We're good to go. So feeling good for whenever the snow begins to fly. And when I was doing this, I had put something down in the basement, and I noticed that I still have my pool bag hanging up on this hook down to our basement. So I think it's long past time that I could put that away. So I'll go ahead and tuck those swimsuits away. In our upstairs bathroom, I found the remnants of my son's Halloween bath. So I went ahead and took care of that. And then in this locked cabinet, we keep like our medications, over-the-counter medications, cold medicine, that kind of thing. So I always like to go through this, especially when it's kind of like getting to be illness season, and just go ahead and check through, make sure that I don't have expired things in here. And actually, all of my children's Tylenol was expired. And so went ahead and tossed all of that and ordered a new one that would not be expired. And I know I'll be so glad that I have that in the middle of the night when we're dealing with a fever or whatever. It's super nice to just know that we're stocked up and that we don't have anything that could harm us more than hurt us because of the expiration date. So this is just an area that definitely always needs some tending, and I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to do this 4 to 6 times a year because it just keeps this from being gross and gunky, And for example, I found like we have a thermometer that really doesn't do a great job. Like it just is hit and miss whether or not it works. And so I have replaced it, but I never got rid of the other one. And that is just such an easy way to find that you get clutter buildup, is not replacing the item that you purchased for, but you have an old one. So I went ahead and got rid of that old thermometer, and that went into my donations pile. But definitely would recommend this with both food and medicine. I mean, it's just so easy for this kind of thing to creep up and for you to end up with all kinds of inventory that isn't actually usable but is taking up a ton of space. So, and it also tells me like I don't need to buy 4 bottles of children's Tylenol at a time. I can buy it a bottle at a time, and when I notice that we're running low, I can go ahead and buy another bottle. So that kind of keeps me from being so wasteful. So I think that has been a really big takeaway for me from these seasonal declutters, is that it just helps me to know like what is worth buying one or more of and what is worth just kind of buying on an as needed basis, or just keeping one active bottle on hand and not having multiples. I'm going through my cleaning supplies and just checking to see, is there anything in here that I'm not still using? I find some hand soap refills, and one of my hand soaps needs to be refilled, so I figured I'd go ahead and empty that bottle out in that. But again, this just kind of helps me to know, like, I have a ton of wood polish in here, and who do I think I am? I dust quarterly, I'm not wood polishing. So I definitely don't need to buy that for probably the rest of my life. Well, so as we wrap up here, I sure hope that you made a lot of progress in your house and created some margin. I had a lot more trash than I did donations. I definitely wasn't able to fill up that whole box, but still my house feels lighter and airier and ready for the season, and I hope yours does too. I'll see you on the next one.